Hey, I'm James and I suck at drawing, but that's gonna change, and this is how. This video is primarily meant as a reminder for myself, so I'm gonna address the camera as if I was watching it myself. I don't mean to come across preachy or anything because I struggle with these things myself still. So let's get to it. What you're about to hear is based on stuff I read and watched about meta-learning, learning how to learn. For example, The 4-Hour Chef by Tim Ferriss, stuff like that. Also my own experience when trying or attempting to get good at something. And of course I applied those things to drawing specifically. It's probably a good idea to think about your intentions with drawing. So what do you want to draw and why? And also how far do you want to take it? As in the ability to draw, or how good do you want to become? For me personally, I get frustrated when I have some ideas in my head and I can't communicate them properly. For example, designs in architecture school. When I think my design is good, but I can't just project it in someone else's head. I just need to draw it. I need to be able to draw it, but I'm not. And also I have stories in my head. I'm somewhat of a daydreamer and I like to bring those stories to life visually. What I think is also important is to have a specific example or specific examples of what work you want to do might look like. So just look through your favorite art platform, look through your likes and see if there are any paintings or drawings that you could see yourself doing or having done, if that makes any sense. Are there drawings that accomplish what you want to accomplish with your drawings too? Or even, do have any of them some aspects to them that you could see yourself using? That's also fine. As for the question of how far I want to take it, Tim Ferriss always goes for world class in 6 to 12 months. And while that sounds appealing to me, being world class, it just sounds cool. And it also sounds possible to me, at least with Tim Ferriss' definition of world class. I think he defines it as top 5% of the general population. Not the ones who do the specific thing, but the general population. That sounds very possible. But I'm not gonna do that. And the first reason why is I'm gonna burn myself out. I'm not able to put in the effort and the time necessary to reach that goal without making myself dread drawing. And the second reason why is being world class in drawing or painting or art in general is not really measurable. So what I'm gonna go for instead is being able to sustain my current standard of living through art while doing my own projects and being my own boss. Now the second part sounds pretty ambitious and most people can't afford to do that in art, but my current standard of living isn't very high in terms of how much it costs. So it doesn't sound too ambitious, it's just the middle ground. I think it's a good idea. But of course this goal may change over time, who knows, we'll see. Next step of my game plan for drawing, determining the components or the sub-skills. And in drawing and painting, the fundamental sub-skills are already widely agreed upon. You've surely heard of the fundamentals of drawing, here they are. Not really much to say about that, except anatomy isn't always seen as a fundamental. I've included it anyway, doesn't matter. The point is, these things are what's gonna give me the most bang for my practice time. You can make stuff look good with just the fundamentals, whereas the other way around, if you just practice all the other sub-skills but the fundamentals, your drawing will suck. And if you master all the fundamentals, you are already perfect at drawing. You don't really need the other stuff. The other stuff is cool and all, but I'm gonna focus on fundamentals at first. Or always, I guess. Sequence. I've already put them in the order I think would make most sense to approach them in, but I only included it in the video to say I'm not gonna stick to it. I think you need to encounter the problem first and then you fix it. What I mean by that is you should do a drawing to the best of your ability and analyze what's wrong with it. And then you decide which of the fundamentals could you practice to get the most improvement out of the least amount of practice time. I think this is really important. It's basically practicing with purpose. It's probably the most important thing I'll say in this entire video. In order to get your subconscious on board with it, you need to make it understand why you're practicing something. And you do that by encountering the problem. And then you get stuck and you do the drawing, the thing you intended to do in the first place, and you see it sucks. And then you fix it. Otherwise, you'll just burn yourself out. You can't fix nothing. That's a quote. I forgot by whom it is, but it's true. Even if you already know you suck at something, you should not practice it just because it sounds like a good idea to do so. For me, I already know I suck at all of these because I've never practiced any of them. So I could just say, yeah, I'll start with the top one and work my way through. I'm not gonna do that. I'm also not gonna stick to one of them until I have mastered it. That's also a recipe for disaster. Next step, learning material. And I've included feedback in this section because feedback is really just another form of learning material, except it's specific to you. I thought about this for a while and I came up with this little matrix here. It divides learning material in 4 different categories, and I think it's probably a good idea to incorporate all of these into your practice, but I don't think the last one is essential. If you think about it, not too long ago people didn't have tutorials at all. A little while further back they didn't even have books. So even though I don't think tutorials are necessary, they are the most convenient of these 4, which can be an advantage or a disadvantage. I have summarized the advantages and disadvantages I came up with right here. Other than that, I think the matrix should be pretty self-explanatory, but if you have any questions about what I mean with something, just ask in the comments. My last point, sustainability, and it's by far the most important one, because of what use is any method if you can't pull through with it. Tim Ferriss mentions this, but I don't think he stresses it nearly enough. About 6 years ago, when I was 16, I started to learn to play the guitar. And my approach to learning to play the guitar was get good first, write music later. Long story short, I haven't touched any of my guitars in like 5 years. And I suck at playing guitar. Now looking back, it's obvious to me why this approach was total bullshit for more than one reason. But the main reason is sustainability. The reason why I wanted to play guitar in the first place was to write my own music. Not to join a cover band or to set a world record in scale playing or anything like that. But that's how my practice looked like. What I should have done is do the thing I intended to do in the first place. Write music. And it's the same with drawing. Allow yourself to create whatever you want to create. Sometimes I have these doubts where I think, well, why would I do this now? I can't do the idea justice anyway, it'll just look like shit. Someone might steal my idea. Don't worry about that. No one's gonna steal your idea, and if they do, they won't be able to pull it off the way you are. And also you're gonna have 1,000 new ideas in a couple of years when you're actually good, so you probably won't even care about this old idea of yours. Or maybe you do, and then you can still redo the same drawing, but better. No one's stopping you. You need proper drawings, the ones you intended to do in the first place, as benchmarks for your ability. Which ties into the next point, which I also mentioned previously: practice with purpose. It's worth mentioning again though. Don't practice something just because it sounds like a good idea to do so. Another thing, don't be a completionist. When I start some course or some book, I always have the urge to finish it. Like, I need to work through it so I can say I have worked through this and this book later, but that's totally worthless. If you're halfway through a book and you forgot why you even picked it up in the first place, or you notice it isn't relevant to your current goal, just skip it. There's no value in being a completionist. Another challenge to overcome is how to deal with plateaus. First, expect them. They're gonna come anyway, you might as well be prepared, mentally. Number 2, try self-awareness. Why you're hitting this roadblock? Can you fix it yourself? Maybe try out a different medium to get your mind off the problem. Or if you can't fix it yourself, that's the perfect time to get your work critiqued. If you can't break through the brick wall by hitting it with your head, then it might be a good idea to ask someone else to show you the door. It's also important to double check your expectations. Have you really put in the work where you could expect yourself to have learned this already? Or are you just acting helpless? Another point, stakes, as Tim Ferriss calls it. I want to try this without putting anything at stake at first. Setting negative consequences for myself seems kinda like a short-term solution for lack of discipline. I want to be wanting to draw without artificial motivators. But maybe I'm just overly romantic about it. This might also change later, who knows? I'll let you know in the comments if I did. But at first I'm gonna try without stakes. So this has basically been it. There's only one more thing, and that's the only thing that can go wrong is if I quit. If you think about it, the only way to fail completely is quitting. As long as I pump out another bad drawing, I have not failed because I still have the opportunity to get better. If anything, every bad drawing is a small success, because every bad drawing means I have not quit. You can't skip the part where you're bad, you just have to get through it. You have to continue to do bad drawings. That's the only way to not fail. Even if it's worse than the one before, and even if it feels like you seemingly learned nothing from it, it was necessary. I need to get in the mindset of appreciating mistakes for giving me the opportunity to learn and improve. Just enjoying and trusting the process. So this has really been it now. I'll see you in my next video where I'll be getting started with the actual drawing. Stay tuned.